fellas that hopefully I'll be dealing with in a couple of weeks or months whenever they come back to me, that'll be after doing a good bit of training. And I'm sure from what I hear, a lot of club players around the country as well are using this time, and because they're so bored and at home, they're doing an awful lot of training. So I think a lot of people will come back with a good level of fitness. So if that is the case, and fellas are coming back fairly in good shape, I'd recommend that most of the stuff we do training wise will be fairly skill based, both coach hurling and football. You'll be trying to do your small sided games, game based scenarios, tackling drills, stuff that they haven't been able to do obviously on their own. Also matches and match scenarios, puck outs, that kind of stuff, kick outs, and as much as that as I can. And obviously the S&C person in the Intercounty set up for us is John Barry. He'll be looking at doing some short speed work, high intensity runs, just to get the lads sharp and get them up to being match day ready for us, which will be what we're looking to do. Obviously there's a couple of people in every team that won't have done as much training as they probably should have, and those chaps to prevent injury, you'll have to do probably 4 to 6 sessions with lower intensity, higher volume runs where they can build up a kind of a base fitness that will prevent them getting injured. And I think that's really important, because we'll all be so mad to get back into training. It'll be very easy for us to forget that if one of our players gets injured in the first couple of weeks back, in our case definitely 3 or 4 games, which could be the whole year for us this year, the way it looks like it's going to be structured. And I'm sure clubs will be the same, that if a chap is unlucky enough to pick up an injury because he's not where he should be fitness wise, he could miss some very important games, which is not the case every year, but I'd say this year probably could be the case. So I hope that's kind of covered for everyone. What we should be looking at post this break. Right, Colin? The next area we're looking at is planning each individual training session. So I suppose the big thing here for me, on a daily basis or a weekly basis, I'd look and I'd plan ahead, and we'd have a month's plan done, obviously, as what we are going to cover, and fitness wise and tactically, and different game plans and stuff like that. And you'd be planning ahead, but you need to plan your individual session every day before you go training. And that starts for me on a Monday. I review what we were after doing at the weekend on a Saturday or Sunday, and see what we needed to do in training that week to try and improve on what we didn't do at the weekend. And that would always be my starting point for training on a Tuesday night. For us is our first night back. So after reviewing the video on a Monday and assessing what we'd done,
Fintan, sorry. Yeah. Fintan, sorry for cutting across you there. Just the slide there is a bit blurred. I don't know, is it true from Colin or yourself? Is there a way you could start that slide there just for people to see it? It's just a little blurred there.
But sorry now, guys, I can see it on my iPad, but I can't. What's blurred? The plan and training, is it?
Yeah, can you see it, Colin?
Yeah, it's coming across fine here too.
Yeah, okay, maybe it's just me. Yeah, walk away.
Okay, sorry about that. So just to obviously plan your session, and after reviewing the weekend, you'd start. So I suppose what you want to cover is the main thing. How long you're going to have in training that night to cover it is a big thing as well. We've been training for 2 hours on a Tuesday night this year to try and maybe improve our contact time with the lads and reduce the number of nights that are coming out of the house. So we've kind of increased the length of time we're training on a Tuesday and given up a Wednesday gym session. So we've been mixing up something that I think the players appreciate, and I suppose it's nice for them to have a night at home. Evaluating your manpower, even a lot of club teams now would have 2 or 3 very good coaches who'd all want to have a certain input into what you're doing. So obviously you'd ring around and see what you want to do, talk to each of your coaches or whoever's involved in the team, and see what they want to do at training and what they think you could do. And when you've come to kind of an agreement, you'll obviously look at what's available to you pitch-wise. Some clubs you share pitches, some clubs have other teams training at the same time, so you need to take all that into account before you start planning your session. We're lucky, obviously, in the Centre of Excellence to have our own pitch all the time, even sometimes to have 2 pitches, so it's very easy for us to plan a full session, but sometimes it's not always as easy, and a little bit of forward thinking on that can really help out, so evaluate the resources needed, equipment wise as well. If you're obviously doing a session with, there could be for a strength and conditioning person, if you want belts, battle ropes, those kind of things, if you're doing that out in the field, what's available to you. A hurling session, if you need small goals, poles, cones, the amount of slitters you use for each drill, that kind of stuff will help you get your training session to run smoothly. So I have just a little example on our next slide of a template I would have used for training there in the last, well, it's probably a month ago now, but just so I get Colin to throw it up there, and you'll see that's a very basic kind of idea of what I would do on a Monday or Tuesday early on the day after. Can you hear me there, lads, or is there a problem, Colin?
No, I think you're fine.
No, that way. Okay, so our very simple Gaelic tactical planner, our kit man Tim Daly got me. So I have a notepad like that. I think it's fairly reasonable cost for anyone if you're looking for it. But it's very easy. It has 2 pitches done out. You can kind of map out your drills on it. I like to have a flow around my training session, so lads are going in a kind of in a direction. They're following drill 1 to drill 2, and you can kind of see it done out there. Drill 1, drill 2, drill 3, and drill 4 and 5. Now that night we would have used 1 pitch, and the setup of 4 was happening when we were doing drill 3. If you can follow the pictures at the bottom of the screen there. Again, you can see the layout of our evening's training. 7:20 would have been a team review meeting, which I'll go into greater detail later on when I talk about the review. I know some of the questions during the week were about warm-ups and the length of your warm-up. Our warm-up there was with John, our strength and conditioning man, from 7:30 to the 7:45. He would have done his warm-up activations, a little bit of speed work, running with the lads, speed technique. And then we would have had a hurling activation, which is also important, just to get their eye in before you into what you want to do for the session. And I think it's very important always to get that in somewhere early on if you can. Again, the drills are divided up into, so drill 2 was 3 goals in. I know people again were looking in their questions about how to win the aerial ball and stuff, and 3 goals in is as simple as it sounds. Now you would have divided lads into 3s, had them around the pitch, 1 in goals, 2 out the field. The fella in goals poking the ball out to 2, and they're competing for ball in the air or competing for ball low and trying to get a goal, and the first person 3 goals obviously wins. So you'd spend about 10 or 12 minutes at that, and obviously you're assessing all the time as you go along. Is this enjoyable for them? Are they getting something out of this? How is this drill going? And you'll know by the body language, and you'll know by the way it's going yourself. And everyone is very self-critical, I suppose. So it'll be very easy to assess how your drill is going. So that drill would have lasted 10 or 12 minutes, and then we moved on to pose finishing. And again, it's very easy for me to talk about setting up a training, and it's very easy for me because I have all the poles, all the cones, all the slitters and goals that I want as well. So sometimes you have to improvise. I've trained in club teams as well where maybe there wasn't as much equipment, and I've had to probably a little bit more planning because of that, and that's probably where some of you'll find yourself in as well. But the planning definitely helps in them scenarios. So the drill there, pose finishing, would be very simple. I stole from a soccer drill. It's 1-on-1, you shoot and then you defend, and we have the goalies in the big goal zone. You'll see drill 3 at the bottom of the pitch on the left there. Again, duration wise, you have a kind of a template, and you try and stick with the timings, because I think players really enjoy knowing what they're doing. I think they really enjoy knowing what time they're going to be finished at, and knowing what time to get into the car to go home at. And I think that's a big thing. And once you commit yourself to that, it's important to try and stick to the timings of it. So if you can at all, And I know, look, if lads are enjoying it, they'll nearly say to you, oh, can we do this for longer, or can we stay a little bit longer? And you're on a winner then, but definitely try and stick with your timings if you can. So finishing the post drill, we would have went on then to small side possession games. I have overloaded down, if you can read it up in the top there at I think it's 8:15. So it's probably easier for me to read than you, but just overloaded possession game would have been where a team with possession were outnumbered by defenders, so 6 against 4, and we would have done that probably 40 seconds on, 20 seconds off for 2 or 3 minutes. Then you'd change it, maybe put a condition in where the possession had to be along the ground. Different things. You do as much of that as you can within reason, trying to get as much out of the lads as you can. That drill is fairly high in intensity, so obviously when we're talking about our session there, we've planned that the finishing game and the finishing drill isn't as high intensity, so lads coming to that drill will have a bit of energy, and the poke out drill following on from it is a lot of standing around and walking around, and you're showing fellas where you want poke out. So again, that's your plan, your training. You're trying to fit your drills around high intensity drills in the middle and maybe not such high intensity drills, so players won't be able to go hard for the full hour and a half, and you need to know when to mix and match your drills. And sometimes you mightn't realise when you're setting up your session, a drill, actually when the players are doing it, it's harder than you thought it would be, and they're tired. So you need to nearly go outside the box and say, oh, I need to do something easy now. I need to change around what I thought we'd do. And we always find ourselves doing that as well. You'll see there at the end, we have endurance running. That's something that the time of year, you see it there, 3rd of March, we're still in a phase of training where we're trying to get in a good bit of running and trying to still work on fitness and getting our fitness up all the time. So we've left that at the end, I suppose, because lads are tired after doing it. You won't get anything out of them hurling wise. So we've tended to be finishing on that. And I suppose from a psychological point of view, you're saying to fellas, oh look, if you can go at the end of an hour and 20 minutes training for 10 minutes, we're on a winner. So that's the thinking behind that, I suppose. So having this document here, I'd send that to all the coaches. I wouldn't send it to the players because it's too much detail. They don't want to be reading it. They don't want to be looking at setting up the drills. They're for the coaches and the backroom team to help us set up the drills and help us set up the field when we arrive. So Colin will put up the next message here, and the next message the next slide, is a very simple, just a WhatsApp message that the players will receive sometime on Tuesday. You can see it there down at the bottom, 12:22. So it's giving them a couple hours to if they're following your nutrition plan, to know what they have in front of them that night. They're all tested for hydration when they come in. So again, they know how much running they're going to be doing, what's involved in training that night, how long they're going to be there, and we try and stick to that within reason. You know yourself, as a team goes, in certain circumstances, things change. You could have a load of hurling set up, and next thing the night is a horrible night, wind, rain, and it won't work out for you as well as you want. And these things happen, and you just have to try and deal with it and move on. So look, I suppose that kind of nearly concludes the planning your session, and I hope it was helpful for everyone. And we'll try and move on now to the next section, which is the analysis and review. And again, it'll be a fairly basic look at what we do as a team, and what I've done with previous teams as well. So our two main areas of review for our players are Huddle, which is an online platform where they can review video footage of their matches and individual video footage. So again, Patricia, our stats videographer, person that's really good on our computer and does everything for us that way, she codes our matches, breaks it down. Each player is able to go in on a Sunday night, Monday, and look at their individual plays and how they performed over the weekend. And I suppose that's where our management team would come as part of the review there. We'd be having conversations with the players through Huddle on what they done well, what they could have done better, what worked well for them. And that would be a private conversation that only the player in question can see. So we can go into, for example, Mikey Boyle's Huddle account and type on his different plays, what he's done on the Sunday, if he got blocked down, if he got if he caught ball, what he done really well, what he done badly, and you give him a mix on what he can improve on and what he done well, and he try and get something out of that. So that would be our huddle platform, and we use that in team meetings as a preview to opposition. We might have footage of opposition and look at their strengths and weaknesses, obviously what they do around puckouts and maybe some of their key players as well. And we look at our own bits and pieces of what we've done well and reinforce that to the lads, what we're looking for puckout wise, sidelines, just general bits and pieces. And that's done on an ongoing basis. But we usually look at that, I suppose, on a Friday to preview the upcoming match, on a Tuesday to review the one that we've had. And again, I know some clubs won't have availability to huddle, obviously, or sports code, which is the machinery to break down the video. But again, even if you can video one match in a year or two and get someone to break it down for you, you don't have to have huddle to put up. You can use obviously a TV or whatever in a normal club room or a dressing room or whatever, and lads will get loads out of it. And sometimes when they see themselves on a video, on a telly, they penny drops very quickly for them, and it's a really worthwhile exercise. And I know for our lads, definitely it's something that we got an awful lot out of over the last couple of years. So then the next couple of slides now, because I don't want to keep you all night, are generated by Statipulse. And Statipulse is an online app. You can get it in the App Store. So I think it's €16 for anyone that's interested in it. I suppose the level of stuff you can get from Statipulse depends on the expertise of the person using it. So obviously we're lucky with Tricia that she can do it fairly quick. Today's the matches. We can have stuff at half time that we can put up on the television in the dressing room. Lads can look at where we've won puckouts and lost puckouts, different things like that. And then at the end of the match, obviously, Patricia go into more detail on different things. I'll show you in the next couple of slides what they are. Now, look, that's available to everyone. Everyone can use that at the match. And as I said, you can generate endless reports on it. So I'll just show you a couple of ones that we've used. I think the next slide there, Colin, thrown up, is the Kerry Offaly match that we played. Somebody might have been at it in Austinstad Park. So puckouts there, this would have been after the match. Trish would have sent this on. We would have used this in a review meeting on Tuesday night before training. Puckouts were an area we were looking at. What happened short, how many we won of our own, how many we won out of Offaly's puckouts. Some of them, obviously, you'd have a plan in your head, maybe letting them go short or making them go long, and you have to take that into account as well, I suppose, and that's something that you'll set up with your team. So again, you can see the data all there. 5 short puckouts, that would have been fine. We would have probably allowed that as a given, and that would have been something we were happy with. So if Colin moves on there again, you'll see here, this would be something that we show at half time in the dressing room, on obviously a screen, TV screen. Now, club teams mightn't have access to that. Most club teams definitely won't have access to that. But most club teams will have access to an iPad. And if you have a person that's able to input where a kick out or puck out is won or lost in the first half, then that graphic will be available to you at half time, either to management or players. Some players don't want to be looking at this stuff at half time. Our players wouldn't look at the TV, but some of them would. It's a very interesting tool for a goalkeeper, for example, to say, oh, this is where we're winning puckouts, kickouts, etc. So it is a worthwhile thing to have. For club teams, using the iPad and just simply looking at it from a management point of view, then you can relay that message to your players, or even to bring the iPad and show the goalkeeper and a couple of the forwards where they're weak in the air, or where we're winning kickouts, puckouts, etc. is a useful tool. So Colin will go on there. He can flick through. The next one is next slide there is I'd say is the Offaly. Oh, sorry, Kerry kickouts second half, puckouts again. We'll go to the next one is Offaly ones in the first half, where we would have looked at half time again. Now obviously there was a massive breeze, if you remember rightly, that day, so Offaly didn't have too many puckouts. And the ones that we lost there, you can see cleanly lost were all short puckouts. So we would have been okay with that because the conditions, obviously we had 5 forwards against 6. So you bear that in mind when you're looking at your stats. Sometimes if you look at these diagrams, all of a sudden you go, oh my God, what's our left corner forward doing there? There's 3 puckouts on his side. And the truth was we had no left corner forward that day. So he would have been hung out to dry for no reason. So look, it's just important to bear in mind, I suppose, when you look at all these kind of what way you're set up, what you have in your head, what the message you've given your team going out that day, and are they doing what you wanted from them, you know? So next one there you have Offaly kickouts and puckouts in the second half. And you'll see that most of those were forced to go fairly long. So that was, most of those were forced to go fairly long. So I'll get Colin to move on again there. So this then is our kind of a more detailed review of the puckouts, where they were won and lost. You wouldn't have this live match day. This would be more for management after the match to have a quick look at and see areas of the field where you can improve, areas of the fields where you won ball and lost ball. And we'll flick on again there, Colin. Again, this is a shooting graphic. So I think the next slide will show where we shot. You can see the top 4 pitches are where you're successful from. Go back there, Colin. Sorry, if you can. Yeah, the top 4 are Kerry shooting success and Kerry shooting from play, Offaly shooting from play, and Offaly shooting success. So you can see different areas of the pitch where we were good shooting from, where we weren't good shooting from. You can see the number of shots you have in the game, how many were from play, how many from free, sidelines, etc., which is just a useful thing for after. You wouldn't have that live match day, but you'd have it afterwards as a review. Again, Colin flicked on there. This would be after game turnovers. It'd be an area most teams are looking at now, how many unforced turnovers you had, how many unforced turnovers you forced. So we had, in this game, 48 turnovers, 32 unforced turnovers. That's an area we're always trying to improve on, and that's an area teams are always trying to improve on. I suppose a lot of scores come from turnover balls, so that's something that we'd look at ourselves and review with the team. So I suppose that brings the PowerPoint or the presentation part of the evening to an end. I hope that gives a little bit of an insight into what we do review and analysis wise and how we talk to the players. I think it's very important that sometimes the one-to-one interactions with your players are nearly the best to give your review to in a private way. You can nearly let a fella know how you're thinking, chatting to him in the dressing room before he goes out, or even in the hallway or in the car, or that before training starts or after. I think that's really important thing you can do. So just from a review point of view, just to remind yourself that it doesn't always have to be as formal as a meeting, or as sometimes a phone call to a player is really appreciated. It can put them in good form for training that evening. If ringing them and telling them how good they are or how much of an effort they put in can give a fella a boost for that week or a match coming up, and that's something we use a lot of as well. So I hope that was helpful for everyone. And I suppose I'll get Colin and Giles now to help us with the questions. If you have any questions, hopefully you sent them in. And if you haven't sent them in already, you might try and send them in now, and we'll get started on the question and answer section.
Yeah, I suppose just to remind everybody there that's tuned in that any questions that was put forward towards my questions or queries that was put forward to myself or Colum, Fintan has them answered, and we have them on a document and we'll send them out afterwards. So don't worry if it's a thing that your query or question wasn't answered during the presentation, and by all means you can still ask the question here on the live chat. We just have there's a question there, Fintan. Is there a risk of overtraining when the crisis has passed? Basically, like that there'll be players, they'll be raring to go, be it in the gym or on the pitch. And is there, like, have you ways of counteracting players being into?
I'd say there's nearly a greater risk of them overtraining now when they're probably not. A lot of lads are off work I know from our own group, the amount of messages and videos I get now what lads are doing. Some lads are doing 5 and 6 days a week, which you're nearly telling them to hold back on what you're doing. And I think when we go back and there's more of a structure to it, you'll be back to your Tuesday night and your Friday night and your gym sessions and your matches. I think it'll be nearly more structured. Now I suppose everyone is a little bit worried or apprehensive about the amount of games and the way the GAA are going to put on games and what's going, but no one really knows what's going to happen. But to answer the question, I suppose I think the important message for players now is not to overtrain. I think when they're back in the under the watchful eye of coaches and managements all over the place, that it'll be nearly easier. I think now at the minute is the time to worry about them and try to get messages out to them, not to overdo it now.
Hi, lads.
We're just saying there, like, let's say if this was Saturday morning from
Tommy,
ran 3 weeks in a row, and it's ran the first week in Tip Waterford, it's ran the second.
Colin, will you ring Tommy there? Will you?
You have 3 people delivering. They're the 3 best people we can find, and
We're okay now. We're okay now. Yeah, good. Just Fintan on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't hear that man there. Sorry, I couldn't hear what he said.
Yeah. Just in regards to the video analysis. First thing, are there free apps there that clubs can use? And the second thing is, how early would you start showing a player video analysis? You know, and what age group would it be beneficial to start to that?
Well, I suppose I have a little bit of I started doing it with the under 16s in school about 10 years ago. So my Dean Ryan which would be under 16 and a half, I would have we would have videoed our school matches and then went through at lunchtime and I had the stuff to break it down. So that would be the earliest I've done it with under 16, say. I've never done it with anyone younger than under 16. But that said, I think kids now are so comfortable with TikTok and videos of themselves and Snapchat and all those things. I think players, even under 14s now, would be comfortable enough watching a video of themselves playing hurling or football and getting a little bit of feedback on it. And I think, look, no one's going to criticise an under 14 hurler or footballer, but if you show them something that will help them, I think they'd be happy enough with it, you know.
Yeah. Emailed in earlier. Practice around basically that they're finding
Sorry, Joe.
You just broke up a bit there on that question.
Sorry, yeah. So it's just a question there that one of the coaches had emailed in prior to the presentation. Basically, what would be a best practice around training an under 16 team that this coach in particular found the under 16s a difficult age to keep the players engaged in training, and that basically they were losing interest in training and they were getting distracted very easy, and just basically what would
typing the answer for earlier on there. I just think it's a common enough problem, not just in hurling, in all sports. Kids that are 16 are coming up to 16, they're making their mind up on what they're good at and what they're not good at and what they're going to focus on. So every sport tends to lose numbers at that age group. Now, I'm not saying that's okay, but all sports do tend to lose different bodies, because bear in mind that most children are going in to do a leaving cert then. Most kids might be called up into a under 17 team where they have to go and concentrate on that. So they can't play 2 or 3 or 4 sports. So you are going to lose the odd person at that age, unfortunately. But for clubs are losing players that aren't gone specialising, for example, or aren't that worried about school. They just are dropping out. That's a problem, and that's an area that I suppose you're trying to make training as attractive for the children as you can. You're trying to encourage them to keep coming, and I suppose I would have said in my answer that I suppose the failure for under 14s is a huge thing, and then when the failure is over, you find fellas, and I've often heard fellas say to me, when the failure was over, I was really looking forward to going, and then I didn't. There was not really do under 15 and 16, and I just kind of lost interest. And I think sometimes if you can at all, and I know people have already given a huge commitment at being a training session, but if you can arrange the odd trip or the odd out to even to go see a match, a Munster final, or go to an outdoor activity centre, or go something different that players can look forward to and go, oh, you know what, the lads look after hurling, they look after us as well, and we've got a bit out of it. And maybe that's a way of keeping one or two fellas that you might have kept otherwise, you know.
Yeah. We move on to maybe a smaller age group, and this is just outside of players. This question basically is just: have you ideas on how to entice parents to help out when they have no background in hurling, especially for maybe under 10 and below?
Yeah, I think, look, because my own young fella is just out of under 10, and I've been that soldier too, that parents are uncomfortable, especially if they haven't much of a background in it. I know in the club at home here, the Camogie club are way better than the hurling club for getting parents to volunteer. And I don't know, is that because the parents feel like the girls won't give out to them or whatever, and that's not being disrespectful. That's just, I've seen it. The Camogie club have a huge amount of volunteers, and it's a brilliantly run club. But I suppose the thing that they done in our Camogie club was they had tea and coffee and cakes and buns for parents at under 6, and the parents kind of became friends, and they were staying around and hanging around anyway. And then because they were sitting around and hanging around and talking, they kind of fell into helping and coaching. And I don't know, does that answer the question? It's hard sell for someone that hasn't been involved to get involved, because you're afraid someone will turn around and go, what do you know about it? And look, that can happen to anyone, but it's hard to convince a parent to do that. And a lot of parents, I suppose, they nearly see an hour down training as nearly a break from looking after them and they go down and sit in the car or go down, and it's encouraging to get out of the car and get involved is a big thing. So I think the earlier you can do it, especially under 6s, when they don't see looking after under 6s as scary as under 10s, and if they start with the under 6s, you have a better chance of maybe keeping them involved, you know.
Yeah. One of the most common questions I got from clubs, Fintan, is drills for catching overhead. Like, it's a common thing among clubs, basically, that players are finding it difficult to put their hand up and catch a ball. Maybe they're afraid. Are there specific drills that you'd use for different age groups, or is there one specific one that you find really good for being able to catch?
There's loads of different ones. I think the important one for, say, under 10s and under 11s, under 12s, that kind of age, I don't think any under 10 is really expected to catch a sliotar coming down out of the sky at 100 miles an hour. But if you can get them doing it without hurleys, so they know they're not going to get a belt when they put their hand up, when they're 11, 12, 13, it encourages them to catch it. I think that's a big thing. We've often, even in school, I see in the playground sometimes kids playing with 10 or 12 or 15 of them in a big huddle, and one fella getting the ball and hooking it up in the middle, and the lad that catches it is a hero. And because there's no hurleys involved, they're all mad to play and they're all mad to catch the ball. So I definitely take the hurdles out of it early on for them, so that it kind of, I suppose, takes that fear of getting your hand broke, I suppose, taken away a little bit. And then I'd introduce the hurls as I go along. When they're confident catching, I try and introduce the hurls. But even at the older ages, you can't do enough of it. Even 2 against 2, the width of the field, striking high ball and getting used to judging the height and where to collect it and where to catch it, and playing the other fella's hand and playing the other fella's hurley. All that kind of stuff is done from just repetition and training. And it's no accident the lads that are good in the air are lads that have hurled or had parents that hurled with them outside or whatever, all their life, you know.
We'll do two more questions, okay? The first one is for under sixes, eights. You have a child holding a hurley with the incorrect hand on top. At what time do you persist on trying to get the hand, the correct hand on top, or if they're striking it pretty okay on, do you leave them as it is, or like?
It's important to get the balance right. I definitely wouldn't persist with if it's going to put the child off playing. I think you see loads of Kilkenny hurlers over the last number of years who switch hands, who you don't know what hand they're going to catch it in. They switch to hurley, and they've won more All-Irelands than most hurlers in most counties. So Aidan Fogarty is one that comes to mind. Like, so I wouldn't. It's not the be all and end all. Obviously, it's best practice to have them holding dominant hand on top, obviously. But look, it's not. I wouldn't. I prefer to see a child happy hurling, not going down. I think I've seen a young fella under 8, under 10, and because the coach was constantly on to about, he actually stopped playing, and that would be a worst case scenario, obviously. But that's what we have to bear in mind too. So yeah, look, I try my best to encourage and praise and get it around that they have to hold it the correct way, but I wouldn't do it to a point where they were upset or not enjoying it, you know.
Good man, yeah. The last one, like one question, just before we finish up, is underage. There's quite a common theme among players of holding the hurley as long as possible. That there's no shot, and they're trying to basically drive the ball as long as they can. Is there something specific that coaches can work on in order to get them to shorten their grip and improve their sharp passing, rather than just getting the ball and looking to strike it as long as they can, especially for the younger age groups?
Yeah, look, even older age groups. I know I brought down a load of size 26 hurleys to train them for a club team. I had a load of my young fella Finn, he had a load of hurleys, and I brought down 25 of them training and gave them out and made them play our training game with the small hurleys just to get them used to it and show them how far they could hit it and how well they could hit it with a short hurley. So there's loads of things you can do, encouraging lads to use the hurl with their hands not on the grip part of it and down off the grip for a modified game or a training game, showing them how effective they can be, using that way and playing that way is a big thing with them. Kids are the same, and young kids want to hit the ball as far as they can because they've spent probably the first 2 or 3 years not being able to hit the ball. So when they can figure out how to do it, they're delighted that they can. So it's a natural enough kind of reaction for them to hit it long. But I suppose the more games in training that you play with a short hurl or a half a hurl or condition games and trying to encourage them to do it is the best way to get through to them.
Yeah, perfect. Good man. Now we had one or two other questions come in there. Just what we'll do is we'll make note of those questions and we'll forward them on. And who's after basically asking the questions, and we'll get Fintan to answer them and send them on with the ones that he's answered already. Colm, do you want to come in there?
Yeah, thanks, Giles, and thanks, Fintan. I suppose I first of all, I just want to just looking at the stats there of people. We 56, I think, upwards of 60 people at times logged in tonight. I know this is new to everybody. Maybe some people just didn't have the luck with it tonight, but hopefully as the weeks go on, this won't be something that is just a once off. We will be running with it again next Wednesday. Look out for details of that. But I just want to thank the coaches, number one, I suppose, for engaging over the last week, maybe 10 days. The quality of the questions that we came in were fantastic, that we had that much engagement across the county. Also, and I mean, to Fintan first and foremost for tonight, but there's a solid week gone into this. You'll see that with the resources that go out tomorrow. I think between drills, which was a common theme that people wanted new ideas and different ideas, maybe like we all do, and answering all of our questions that came in over the last week. I think that document runs to between 40 and 50 pages. So that document will be sent out tomorrow to everybody who's registered as well. So again, just from my point of view, thanks to Giles. A huge thank you to Fintan as well for his time. I know that was of great value for me. I know it'll be a great value to our coaches as well. Thanks to everybody for logging in. And I'll hand it back to you there, Giles, to wrap it up.
Yeah, so actually, I think the one next Wednesday is football. So obviously, we'll be tuning into that as well. But I suppose just for everybody that's here now at the minute, if you have things that you would like to see presented or talked about for Wednesday week, myself and Colin will probably send out an email there at the end of the week, and you can just reply back to us with ideas and thoughts again of what you'd like to hear talk about, basically. So yeah, and just echo what Colin said. Okay, thanks a million for everybody for logging in, and Fintan for giving his time for presenting it to us.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks a million for having me, and best luck with the rest of them. And I hope it was worthwhile for the people that tuned in, and hopefully, please God, we'll see everyone soon on the playing fields.
Absolutely, and when we do, best of luck with the championship. Thanks a million.
Thanks, lads.
Thanks
guys. Cheers.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.